home and abroad from all the websites online. My name is Angie Meher and I'll be taking you through this afternoon's episode. And of course, we begin straight away with news from home with Al Ahram Online. The headline reads, Sisi launches major project in Suez Canal Zone. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi launched a major project to develop the Suez Canal Zone. It includes several ventures, most notably the East Port Said port. The hopeful scheme includes the construction of a port with a 5-kilometer-long platform, as well as establish an industrial and logistic hub and a housing region for investors. Developing the region also includes the digging of 4 tunnels south of Port Said. Prime Minister Sharif Ismail had inspected on Friday the development of East Port Said tributary, which accommodates large ships, as well as project to provide water for the reclamation of 100,000 fidans of land in the area. In his speech, Ismail said the new Suez Canal is just the first step in a mile to develop region, adding that the digging of the new canal is a real start to developing the region. He said the project includes developing the East Port Said region, and the East Port Said includes ports, industrial hubs, and a logistic region. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi gave a speech before giving the starting sign for the project. He observed a minute of silence for the souls of the terrorist victims, and he said that the development of the Suez Canal hub was a dream and that work in the Suez Canal zone over past 13 years was little. He added that the country development requires relentless efforts, sincerity, and vow to build and protect the country. President said the country's work on the construction of a 5,000-kilometer-long road network, and he also vowed to construct a road network to link industrial regions with airports and seaports, promising to end the project within 2 years instead of 3. Now joined over the telephone by my guest, Dr. Mahmoud Morsi, political analyst for this afternoon. Dr. Mahmoud.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
A very good afternoon to you, sir. Many thanks for joining us. First and foremost, a very important development, the major project in the Suez Canal zone. What are the economic outcomes that you predict of this developing project for Egypt?
As you know, after we have built the new Suez Canal, we have very important, ambitious and projects in the Port Said. And as you hear today, the President was talking about this plan has been in place since 2002. And this is very important project. It's well planned, and the President has said also this plan has been reviewed and measured by all the measures of all the institutions of that country. So this project is very important. First of all, as you know, they have 4 things. First one, the new industrial area. It will have many factories will build, and also we have the 4 tunnels and also the plant fishing. All these projects will change the landscape of Egypt's economics. I guarantee, I didn't say that it will be, will be the effect of this project in short term, but at least from 5 to 10 years, these projects will be improved and change the face and the landscape of Egyptian economy. We will have new opportunity and new projects for many foreign investments to come to Egypt. And I think it's very important in this time in Egypt.
Indeed. Sir, to what extent do you think such a project will help with the land reclamation in the area, as it is expected to provide more water?
Yeah, I think it's also the EU, there is all the projects to get water from the western side to the Sinai. I think this project will be applied now and will continue. As you know, this project has been started and planned during the Mubarak era and have stopped for many economic problems and shortage of studies. But I think with this project will coming now and apply for more water.
Indeed. And sir, the new project is expected to affect trade both regionally and internationally. How do you foresee this?
I think the world will carefully watch Egypt and the new project today. And this new project will give the investors and the foreign investors, I don't talk about the Egyptian one, not on the local, in the local state, but I think outside, it will give more guarantees and more chances to people to come and invest in Egypt. And I think very well for many companies to come to Egypt.
Right. General Mahmoud, the role of the armed forces has been strong. How do you see their role in implementing this phase of the project?
Yeah, okay. As you know, we have suffered in the last 10 years from the corruption. Corruption in many places in the area. And I think President Sisi has in his mind a clear plan how to fight corruption. And I think today he was talking about three important things. One of them is the corruption. And corruption is just built everywhere in Egypt. I think with military working in such a project will give the guarantee to work against corruption. They have plan, they apply in time, and guarantee that the money of the people will be spent in the right place.
Right. General Mahmoud Morsi, our political analyst, very insightful there. Let's move on to the Daily News Egypt, and the headline reads, Sisi and Renzi agree to continue cooperation against terrorism. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi agreed to continue their cooperation in efforts to combat terrorism. In a telephone conversation, Sisi and Renzi also agreed to continue joint efforts to find solutions for conflicts in the Middle East, especially Libya, which has been ravaged by over 4 years of civil war. Italy, whose southern islands are only around 300 kilometers from the Libyan coast and has been dealing with an influx of thousands of migrants who cross the Mediterranean to its shores, has been alarmed as Libya has fallen into deep turmoil since the toppling of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. Italy's called on Egypt to aid in the efforts to combat illegal migration, and Sisi also praised Rome's efforts to promote investment by Italian companies in Egypt. First and foremost, how do you evaluate the bilateral relations between Egypt and Italy in different fields?
Yeah, okay. Italy is very important key player in economics. They are our nearest Europe from Europe, and they have our gate to Europe. And as you know, Italy is their participation in the economics in Europe and in the world is very high. I think about 40% in Europe. So Italy is very important for Egypt. This is the first one. Second is we have a long relationship with Italy. Started from economics and social and a lot of other things, and also in military. And Italy has very ambitious in Libya. Libya is our neighbor. We are have concern about the stability and security in this country, and have to build the new state there and fight terrorism. So with Italy and with Egypt, we can have some improvement in the situation in Libya. This is one side. About Egypt and Italy, I think we'll continue. As you know, the gas in the Middle East is very important, have very ambitious for us. So I think cooperation with Italy will have a good result.
Indeed. And regarding the migrant crisis, a lot of people do lose their lives trying to enter countries like Italy and other European countries. The Italian minister has called on Egypt to aid in the efforts to combat illegal migration. What do you think can be done by the Egyptian authorities on that front?
Okay, security cooperation is very important. Security cooperation is very important in the Mediterranean.
Right.
As you know, Egypt is Libya is very high port for immigrants. Immigrants coming from Africa through Libya, through the sea, to Italy and to Europe. So as Libya is very important port, and some effort for Egypt security to patrol in the Mediterranean and with the Navy helping to stop this immigrant, I think the cooperation with Italy is very high. As you know, the security in the Libya now, there is no insecurity, there is no military. I think the chance to have more immigrants coming through Arabia is very high. So I think Italy is depending on Egypt building their role to support and to protect the Mediterranean for immigrants.
Right. General Mahmoud, let's go now to the Daily Star, and the headline reads, Israel troops injured in West Bank rammings and 2 Palestinians dead. 2 Palestinians rammed their cars into Israeli soldiers on the occupied West Bank, injuring 7 before both assailants were killed, raising the week's Palestinian death toll to 10. In the first attack, a Palestinian drove into soldiers at the bus station northeast of Jerusalem and was shot dead, and police identified him as Fadi Hasib from Ramallah, whose brother was shot dead on Sunday after ramming his car into Israelis before charging at them with a knife. Sir, in your opinion, what are the consequences of such incidents? We are seeing an escalation between Israelis and Palestinians. The consequences, in your opinion?
I hope this stage of violence and fighting between Palestinians and the Israeli could stop very soon. I think that the spirit and the hopeless case of the Palestinian relations and this agreement with Palestinians and Israel have stopped many years, and there is no other place is very interested in solving the problems. They give the people in Palestine no way out. The people in Palestine looking for have a state and have a good life, normal life in Palestine with Israel. So I think the continuance of fighting and stabbing people from both sides is very serious stage. And I think the whole world, not even Egyptians or Arab countries, but also the Europeans and the United States have been to stop this kind of accidents and attacks between the both sides. Both sides, Palestine and Israel, have to control themselves and stop fighting. And after that, we could start from there to establish a new relations and find a new plan to stop and build a state between two states for two countries. Even if it doesn't happen now, we have to stop this fighting between the two countries.
Right. General Mahmoud, let's go to another headline where France's Fabius backtracks after suggesting working with the Syrian army. France's foreign minister was forced to backtrack after suggesting earlier in the day that troops loyal to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad could be used to fight Daesh before a political transition took place in the country. Fabius, one of Assad's fiercest critics, said earlier that while troops on the ground to fight Daesh could not be French, there could be Syrian soldiers from the Free Syrian Army, and why not regime troops? Officials close to Fabius at the time clarified his position, saying that cooperation could only happen once a unity government without Assad was in place. However, his original comments, which would have marked a departure in the Western position that the Syrian leader must step down, of course, spread quickly. Now, how do you see the impact of these French statements on the Syrian conflict?
This is a very serious step. And it will be the severe damage to the situation in the ground. As you know, if the Syrian forces will fight Daesh, they should be armed. They will be supported by armies from other Western countries, and will be change the balance between the Assad forces, Bashar forces, and the opposing forces. And will be no way to such building any democratic system or state in the coming years. This is one. The second, are they very indeed need to fight Daesh? I think 2 years now, 3 years, we find the Syrian forces is just fighting the opposite. So I think the Western should be very clear and be careful for the plan to organize the Assad forces, the Bashar forces, to fighting Daesh.
Indeed. General Mahmoud, now let's go to the Moscow Times, and the headline reads, Russia-Turkey war of words escalates over the downed warplane. Moscow slapped sanctions on Ankara as the war of words over a downed Russian warplane escalated, with the Turkish strongman Recep Tayyip Erdogan warning Russia not to play with fire. Russia announced it was halting a visa-free regime for Turkish visitors after threatening a raft of retaliatory economic measures to punish the NATO member state. Tuesday's incident has sent recriminations flying between two rival players in the Syrian war, just as countries such as France are pushing for a broader coalition to try to defeat the Daesh terrorist group. Erdogan nevertheless said he wanted a direct meeting with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin when the two leaders are in Paris next week for the UN Climate Summit. But Moscow responded coolly, saying Turkey has yet to apologize for shooting down the jet on the Syrian border. Now, how do you view, sir, the escalation between Russia and Turkey?
Okay, I don't think the countries will go to war. It will be economic sanctions between the two countries, as you have said just now. And also it will be stopped flying from Turkey to Syria, and some kind of things will be continue for a while until the two presidents will come together and get to solve the problems. But I don't think it will be going to war, direct war between the countries.
But General Mahmoud, then what is the justification of this Turkish attack in your opinion?
Okay, you know, the rules of engagement have been changing in the space of Turkey in the last 4 months. I know just 10 times warning to the Russian flight Sukhoi 24 was not enough. But Turkey have been suffered in some times from the flights, and you know, they have another flight have been shot by Syrian in the last year. So the situation is very hard, and you know, and sometimes taking the military decisions, I think it is serious one to take a decision to drop down a flight from Russians. But I think they saying it have been crossed the land of Syria, and they have some right to do that in some way. I didn't say they have the right completely to do that, but I think according to rules of engagement, they applied in the air forces. So I think they have to solve the problem. I would think most countries, the accident.
Right. And General Mahmoud, finally, what could be the influence of Russia's interference on the situation in Syria on its relations?
I think Russia needs to hurt and make some troubles to Turkey. As you know, Turkey is very concerned about the flight zone and the Turkmenistan in the east of Syria. Right. I think what is doing Russia now is supporting this area and to stop Turkey to attack and fight in there. And this is a problem. I think the most key player here is the United States should be interfere and just solve the problem.
Right. General Mahmoud Morsi, our political analyst and our guest for this afternoon, I'd like to thank you very much, sir, for joining us on this afternoon's edition of The World Today.